G'day everyone, I'm 2's Blaze, and welcome to another episode of the TriPoint podcast with, once again, myself. Episode number 128. Once again, Kinunners is currently away. She's basically taking a little break at the moment, which is fine. She will be back in the future. However, it is only me once again, therefore it'll be a shorter one, and I'll simply discuss the topics of the week. Therefore, let's get started straight away, shall we? Nintendo, they're doing this Donkey Kong achievement thing that lately I've on the Switch and stuff like that, and I personally haven't had much to do with it. I'm not actually the biggest. I like the Donkey Kong games, however, they're not my first choice every single time. I do really like to play them. However, they're not they're if I start playing them, yeah, I'll play them probably all the way through. However, once. I have a lot of other things that I would prefer to play over them, basically. However, anyway, yeah, the Donkey Kong games, they've got all this, I don't even know what you call the DK Challenge. Yeah, DK Challenge or whatever it is. It's almost like a little achievement system for those games, and you get some cards in there, some digital cards whenever you complete an achievement, essentially. And Nintendo, once you get all the achievements by, I think it's by September 1st, which is very close. If you get all the achievements, they will be sending out the physical versions of the cards to people, which I think that's really neat. That's such a fun way to reward players and stuff like that. And I'm hoping to see more of this sort of stuff go on further as the Switch 2 goes on, with more of this type of achievement system with different games as well. It'd be really nice to see. Yeah, very, very interesting. It'd be nice to have some of those cards. However, again, I'm not the biggest when it comes to Donkey Kong. However, yeah. Hopefully something that that I can get into later at a date. And they have recently trademarked the title Dr. Mario World. And for anyone thinking, isn't that a game they already made? Yes, that was the mobile Dr. Mario game that I actually really liked. I played a lot of that game, and then they delisted it and stuff like that. And yeah, it made me sad. To be honest, I feel like they didn't need to, especially because they could have simply made that an offline game and then kept it going. I don't know, I really like Dr. Mario World, though. I know it's not your traditional, the pills come down Dr. Mario and stuff like that, you have to sort of drag them up. I know, however, I enjoyed it nonetheless. I really like puzzle games in general, therefore I really, really liked it. However, they've recently trademarked the name Dr. Mario World, which is interesting to see. No idea what this could mean. Whether they're bringing back the game, or a new game is going to be in the name or something, I have no idea. Interesting to see that. I'm curious to see what comes of it, to be honest. Yeah, moving over now, let's talk about Steam, because they've been releasing hardware, as we know. We've talked about the Steam machine specifically on the channel mainly. However, they've had the Steam Deck out as well, and they had some other things in development. We talked about the controller as well. The Steam Frame, however, which is their VR headset, which is probably the one that I would say myself and my brother have been most interested in, the Steam Frame, because we do we have I was about to say Oculus, MetaQuest 2, that we've used for many years, and we quite enjoy that. However, we're looking at the Steam Frame going, oh yeah, that might be a nice upgrade. I'm assuming it's going to be very expensive though, therefore we're definitely not getting it, at least straight away. However, they've recently started releasing the setup videos online for it, and they go into things and show the setup process. You can use your phone to do it as well, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, no, the Steam Frame, I don't know, I'm curious to see more about it. I'm assuming that means they're going to be bringing out something around it soon, when it's going to release and all that sort of thing. Therefore, yeah, I'm curious to see more about it. As I said, there's no way I can afford it right now. However, yeah, it does look like it has a lot of potential. Subnautica 2, which is a game that I have played a lot of already with Kinunners and our brother. Simply having multiplayer Subnautica is amazing. We always played Subnautica 1 a lot, and then having all of us together is great. Anyway, their new update came out a few days ago. 1.2, which is called the Buddy System update. Basically, it's not a massive new areas thing or anything like that. It's more general improvements, actually. However, there are some really, really fun things to talk about with it. There's a, I mean, you can now go into people's backpacks, other members' backpacks, anybody who's in the game with you and stuff like that. You're behind them, access their backpack, you can transfer or take things. That's a really good way transferring stuff. Like, there was always a problem where we had to like keep dropping things on the ground constantly, and they'd go everywhere. We even accidentally duplicated things that way. That was kind of funny. However, yeah, now you can go into the backpack. There's emotes to simply show people how you're feeling and all that sort of thing. There's proximity chat, therefore the further you get away, the less you hear and all that sort of thing. Probably not something I will use. I know proximity chat's a fun thing in games, however, like, it's a fun concept, and I like the concept. However, I've never personally enjoyed actually using proximity chat or anything of the likes. I don't know. I think that's personal preference. Yeah. Therefore, anyway, next up, I don't know what it was. There's a revive system now. Therefore, when you get taken out or run out of air or anything like that, there's a certain amount of time of which another player can revive you, which I think is kind of neat. I mean, that comes from a lot of more modern games and things like that, and it's going to be handy in areas where, like, we were having problems where we were, like, all the way across the map from our base and stuff like that, and then, like, we had to revive. We couldn't revive, people when they, like, ran out of air or something like that. Therefore, that's always good. They're adding 2 more characters as well. Specifically, I believe it is Jagna? Jagna? I think his name is. I don't know how you say it, to be honest. Jagna? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, anyway. And then there's Grace as well, which is the other new character, and that's good to see. More characters, the better. I was actually expecting them to go down the route of, like, customizable characters, however, that doesn't seem they want to go that far, which is fine. Like, they don't have to. It doesn't bother me too much, however, yeah, it's good to see some more characters to choose from, to be honest. And then there's a new type of disc thing. I can't remember what it's called specifically, that you can essentially you can place there, and it acts as a beacon almost. I'm curious to see how this will work in conjunction to beacons. Like, what are the downsides to using this over a beacon or above it? Like, because the way, at least I'm looking at it now, it almost makes beacons kind of useless. However, yeah, the fun thing with it though is you can throw it and you can catch it. Therefore, you can play frisbee with each other, which is always really fun. Some stuff like that is always fun. I do like that. Other little improvements, like they've changed a little bit how the building tool works. I can't remember the name what it is right now for some reason. However, you can now, like, see distances for how far away from other things they are and where you can place them and stuff. That makes building a lot easier, to be honest. The UI has been updated a little bit to make things a little bit less confusing and stuff. Very good. Very, very good to see this update. And yeah, I mean, I'll jump back into it at some point and try it out. But that is always a good thing. However, yeah, moving on, let's talk about Arknights, our favorite thing to talk about on the channel, because the next character has been unveiled. Next 2 characters, in fact. They had a big overview video for about 40 minutes the other day, talking about all the new things coming and stuff like that, showing off new story even after this update that's coming next. Yeah. And then, yeah, there's 2 new people coming. People were expecting Proxy to come. However, it turns out the Typhoon, I don't know how you say the name properly. However, Bow Lady will be the next 6-star up. And then there's I don't know what you call him, like a cat? Yeah, I don't know what it is. Is he a cat? I have no idea. However, yeah, he will be a 5-star coming in the next one. I'm getting his name up now. If it will show me. Or not, please. Okay. Okay, I guess it doesn't want to show me right now. However, yeah, yeah, big old fluffy cat. Pacina, but I don't know how you say it. This will be all happening in a snowy forest as well, which, considering they were talking about moving out of Wuling and now they're putting another place in Wuling, I think that may upset some people. I certainly know it would upset my brother. However, you know, the update itself is called Dreamscape of I lost that then. Dreamscape of Wind and Snow, which makes a lot of sense because it's all snowy and everything like that. Yeah, good to see. I always like Enfield updates and stuff like that, and I'm waiting it patiently. I guess getting my Iridium up. I do like as well with the bow person. If you use them like to actually play, if you actually play as them, like the bow physics are almost like a over-the-shoulder game, which is kind of interesting. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, good to see some little differences and things like that there. Anyway, moving on to probably the last thing of the video. As I said, this is going to be a very short one. There isn't actually that much. We have some Circana sales, which are the American ones, which we don't get as often as the Famitsu sales, to be honest. However, yeah, we're good to see things in general. Apparently it has dropped a bit, however, we'll talk about it as we go into it. July 2026 US video game market highlights thread from Circana. US video game spending dropped 10% in July to $4.5 billion, despite the debut of several hit new releases. Yeah, it's just dropped a bit. Total video game sales have dropped. How do I read this one? They all read differently. Dollars million, therefore... Yeah, it's gone down from 5 billion to 4.5 billion. It's a 10% change. And when that comes to things, it's mainly the video game content, like games and stuff like that, have dropped from 4.452 billion to 4 billion, essentially. That's a 9% drop. Video game hardware has dropped from 395 million to 282 million. That's a 29% drop. That's a fairly large drop. And video game accessories have dropped from 189 million to 178 million at 6% change. That's, yeah, it's interesting to see. That's for the July specifically. The years to date, basically there's a 2% drop. It's down from 32 billion to 32 billion 768 million through to 32 billion basically. Yeah, therefore, yeah, some drops, minus 2%, which is interesting to see. Yeah, hardware, July gaming hardware spending fell 29% when over E2 compared to a year ago to 282 million, the lowest total for a July month since 2020, which is very interesting. Hardware fell 39%, which is, yeah, while the average selling price of a new unit of video game hardware jumped by 16% to 542, which is, yeah, because the prices are all going up. Unit sales were down on all consoles when compared to a year ago. PlayStation 5 units sold 6% versus July 2025. Series dropped 18%, and the Switch 2 declined by 51%. And obviously that's because the Switch 2 launched around the time last year. that would be the big reason why it had such a massive drop. And then PlayStation 5 led the July market, the hardware market, in dollar sales, while Nintendo Switch 2 leading in units sold during the month, which I guess makes sense. And then with 14 months in the market, Switch 2 is 11% ahead of the time-aligned sales pace of the original Nintendo Switch, which is always good to see. Yeah, and then we have some game sales. The top best-selling games ranked on physical and full game digital dollar sales for July 2026. At number 10, we have 007 First Light. Good to see that that's continuing. I really do like that that's continuing to move units. That's really strange to see, however, yeah. At number 9 is Tomodachi Life. Good to see that there as well. It has dropped a little bit from what I last saw, at least. However, that's fine. Echoes of Ironclad, which I was not expecting to be there. That's a big one that we were talking about and that we have. However, yeah, nice to see that there at number 8. Number 7 is Splatoon Raiders, which makes sense. Number 6 is Campaign Evolved, which kind of makes sense. I don't know. I have my gripes of Campaign Evolved, as I've talked about. However, it's okay. Number 5 is Black Ops, which is absolutely hilarious considering that's an old game. Number 4 is EA Sports MVP Bundle. And number 3 is Black Flag Resynced, which makes sense as well. Number 2 is EA Sports College Football. And then number 1 is Black Ops 2, which is, again, absolutely hilarious. I do like that keeps selling. Yeah, good to see the sales, though, I suppose. Like, it's been a bit of a drop, bit of an up. It's all over the place, as expected of this, especially in this financial time problem at the moment. Otherwise, though, yeah, as I said, a bit of a shorter one today. There's not much else to talk about. I shall be definitely back next week with hopefully a little bit more to talk about, depending on what gets revealed throughout the week. Therefore, yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and we shall be back in the next one. For listening, and then we shall be back in the next one. Cheers, everyone.